Hello there, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on the ice. Hockey Camp Edition Week 2. And this is a little different only because we think of hockey camps as strength, perseverance, on the ice, on ice, off ice training. But we always seldom look at the importance of mental focus and handling emotional stresses. And considering what we've been through over the last 5.5 months without any type of physical activity, with regards to playing competitive sports or having any contact in those regards. We have seen some camps occur throughout the summer, but nonetheless, September is always that time where we look to refocus, regain our conditioning on the ice physically, but now we have to look at it mentally and emotionally. And joining me today is a good friend of mine, founder of Align Your Mind, at alignyourmind.ca. Mr. Robert Broten is his name. We've talked many years. He keeps me in check. He keeps me on the fresh, and most importantly, focused at the task at hand. So we're going to talk about front loading and the emotional stresses and how to handle those challenges, especially during this certain time that we've been going through these past 5 months. So please welcome on the ice, founder, Mr. Robert Broten. Well, Robert, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me. It's seldom looked at, the focus and the mental aspect of any type of game or employment. Robert, tell us a little bit about Align Your Mind and how you began this journey with your own program here.
Well, Align Your Mind is a mental performance company. So I'm a mental performance coach. I'm a master practitioner of hypnotherapy, mental emotional release, and neuro-linguistic programming. So what that really means is I understand the language of the brain, the understanding of how our conscious mind speaks with our unconscious mind neurologically. And at the unconscious level, that's where all of our behaviors are. That's where they're all stored. That's where our emotional reactions, that's where our talent is stored. That's where our skills are stored. So if we can learn how to sift through our unconscious baggage, our unconscious luggage, kind of clean house, get rid of the things that aren't serving us in terms of emotions or bad habits, and start to program our unconscious mind with the things that are going to serve us well. And so for me, that blew my mind when I was able to study this and learn this and really get control of my own mind, my own sales career. And then when I got to harness, my thoughts, my emotions, I thought, wow, you know what? There's such a need for this in sports. There's kids out there that are extremely talented, have amazing physiques and skill sets, but their minds and our minds as humans are just always the last thing to develop. Usually the skill and the talent is there before our mind is really fully developed, so we can think clearly, so we can, be good mentally. That's always the last thing to come into play. So for me to start this business, helping young athletes understand how their thoughts create their emotions, understand how to front load and plan scenarios and intentions at the unconscious level. That's really what I teach them. And then also getting rid of the things that are getting in their way, the lack of confidence, whatever emotional traumas they might have had. So we kind of get rid of those. And I teach them that, your self-talk is really all where it starts. It's your thoughts that create how you feel. So as we're going through this pandemic, I had a lot of those conversations with my athletes of just reminding them that let's not get caught up in the storylines of life here. Let's make sure that we're taking it one day at a time. We are aligned with what we're doing, right? So even though hockey is not on, even though we're not allowed to train, we can still work our mind. We can still feel good. We can still think well. So that was a lot of my summer. That's kind of how I evolved all of this, sort of to make a long answer, but that's how all of this came about. And I absolutely love what I do. I love to teach young athletes these skills.
You mentioned the neuro-linguistic aspect of it and self-talk and self-taught. aspects. I mean, agree with me on this, Robert, that life now for a youngster is a lot more challenging with so many different stressors and distractors out there compared to what life would have been like for you and me maybe when we were 7 or 8 or 12 years old, correct?
Yeah, 100%. And you can thank social media for that, right? Everybody is worried about what they look like online and sharing their perfect life and all of those things. So yeah, a lot of that gets caught up in the minds of young kids, and we never had that. You're right. I never had to worry about my Instagram page when I was a kid.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you took social media away and the perception of what the third party thought of us, it would make life a little bit simpler perhaps, but at the same time, we enjoy reviewing other people's lives so much and seeing what other people are doing and also looking for our 15 minutes of fame, especially when you're a youngster.
But it's interesting that you say that, because I think you're absolutely right. But this is about mindset. So if that's our mindset, then we can get easily caught up in how does my video look when I post it on Facebook or Instagram, or what's my Snapchat feed look like, right? Like we can get caught up in that pretty easily. But we could also look at this as, for athletes, because if you're afraid to be seen and if you're afraid to be judged, then that's going to show up on the ice if you're a hockey player. So maybe you're not bringing your best to the ice because you already have this in you. It's going to pop up on your social media, which happens a lot faster, a lot sooner, and to everybody. So if we can learn to handle that adversity that we face, and get rid of the fear of people's opinions on social media, if we can handle that, then we're becoming better athletes. We're becoming better people, because then it doesn't matter if we're playing a sport and someone's giving their opinion of us. We don't care. We know who we are. So it's about mindset, right? So we could use the social media thing also as an advantage and as a tool and as a learning tool to really build our mental foundation and strength.
So let's talk about the resurging mindset and the focus of a positive mindset, even though we have these distractors. I mean, you said social media is a double-edged sword, right? It's got a good side and a bad side. And hearing compliments online or hearing compliments from friends personally is one thing, but then seeing all the distractors and the negative aspects of things and what people are saying may or may not be involving you, but still may affect you. How do you take that luggage, I know you like using that word, and putting it aside and removing it so that you're able to maintain the focus on the task at hand?
Well, if other people's opinions are firing you up, there's a deeper level to that. So with an athlete, I'll talk about what does that mean to them, and it's always different for everybody else. So once you deal with that, then it becomes easy to just focus on the task at hand. Because if you're going to allow your thoughts to create those emotions about, oh my gosh, I don't want other people to judge me. Maybe, I'm not showing what I think that they want to see. Once you can get past that, it doesn't really matter. And it's a lot easier then to be in the moment and go, I know what I'm about. I know my values. I know what my goals are. I'm clear on them. I'm happy with who I am. And I'm just taking each day at a time, right? And I'm going towards what I want. But you got to get rid of those emotional barriers. So if a fear of other people's opinion is really getting you, then those are conversations that we have. And it's different for everybody, Theo. Like it all comes from different places. But if you have that fear of judgment, and I think that early on starting this business, I'm never one to really post a lot online. It's really not my generation, but being a business owner and knowing that my clients are out there, that's how I put my name out there, and that's how I advertise. So even for me, getting to the point where it's like, I'm okay with posting up a video with content, with information, and not worrying about what other people might say. And the thing is that, and sports is the same way, business is the same way. Once your platform gets bigger, there's a lot more people that are going to start cutting you down. So as you get more well-known, there's a lot more people putting in their opinion as to who they think you should be. So we need to get past that. And with all my athletes, we work on our values. I help them understand who they really are. And that helps clean out all of the thoughts of other people's opinion and why they care about other people's opinion. Because once you're secure with who you are, and you get that everybody's, where their opinions are coming from, once you can understand that, then it's much easier to manage.
Robert Broten, the founder of Align Your Mind, talking with us today about the mental importance. And that relationship, Robert, I guess, is not practiced as much as it should be between mental and physical and emotional compartments, if you want to call, of daily life. When it comes to refocusing, I mean, personally for me, when I walk through a door, that is like my reset button to say, okay, what environment am I going into? For youngsters, give us a couple of ideas of what they might be able to use as an opportunity to refocus and hit that reset button when you're talking to them.
Well, we're really not talking about doing anything different than what we normally do. It just so happened that the season stopped early. So that time has gone by. The dust has settled. The season's been canceled in a lot of cases. So the mindset then is just keep on keeping on. So now it's summertime, right? So now what's your summer routine? What's your summer plans? What camps are you going to? How are you doing dryland training? Like, where are you working out? Who are you working out with? And so that's been a challenge because you haven't been able to go to those places. So athletes have still had that mindset of, okay, well, I still need to train, and I may not be able to go to the gym. I may not be able to go to my club, but I can train at home. So they're finding ways to do it. So nothing has really changed. Even not playing hockey for a long time, you get a lot of mental rust. If you're not seeing the plays, feeling the reads, like that takes some time for your brain and body to get aligned with that. So when you show up to play, or organically, it just kind of has to happen, and that could take some time. And that's mental rust, right? But I'm asking my athletes to mentally rehearse some games. Keep those neural networks and that brain firing hockey. Keep yourself seeing your perfect game. Do the mental rehearsals to see yourself enhancing your skills in certain positions and certain parts of the technical side of it. So keep your mind active. That takes off the mental rust. And even though you might, instead of doing that for 2 or 3 months in an off season, that might have been extended now to 5 or 6 months, which is more of a challenge, but take it one day at a time. It is what it is. And now when we look at August 10th, we have training camps coming up. We have things that are all of a sudden opening without any warning. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're open, come work out. And some athletes are scrambling because they haven't been preparing. They just thought it was like, in school when we get 2 or 3 days of a storm and we don't do anything and we're not productive at all. It's kind of like that, but that happened for 3 months for a lot of players. They didn't do anything. They didn't train. They just thought the world was on pause. And it's not a very good mindset, right? So to just keep it simple. So how do you stay focused? Just keep it simple. Just know that, okay, well, what is this time? It's summer. I'm in training camp. Now we're getting in almost into September. Now you got to start getting to the gym. You got to start getting on the ice, and all of those places are open now. So, you fall right back in to the structure that's always been there in hockey, right? So if you tell yourself, and if you get caught up in the storylines, and I preach this a lot with everybody that I work with, what you say is how you're going to feel. So if you're going to get caught up in storylines and you're going to think those thoughts of a pandemic, if you're going to think those thoughts of, oh, this was my last year of college, now whatever the situation might be, you're just going to create all of that emotional energy that's not going to serve you. So it's about how to manage our thoughts, how to keep things clear, how to keep things in a healthy perspective, and not get caught up in life.
We're going to talk a little bit right after the break, Robert, when it comes to front loading and keeping your mind in focus at the present state. Right back when we come back on the ice here with Robert Broten.
Hi, I'm Nettie Weiss from Metalmaster. You had an accident? Sometimes they're embarrassing, but they're always inconvenient. We have an incredible staff to take care of you. We have platinum certified techs in 4 different categories. We are certified as a gold class accredited shop. If you've made a claim already, perfect. Call us with your claim number. If you need a claim opened, give us a call. We'll walk you through it. Sometimes you can get a little nervous dealing with NPI. We'll help you out. From Metalmaster Auto Body, straighten it out.
With Robert Broten, the founder of Align Your Mind. Robert, we talked about the focus at hand and the importance of keeping distractors away from what you're doing. I always see it when I go to the gym. I see, youngsters with their phones. Sure, they've got a music playlist, but they're also checking out their social media accounts.
Right.
You can't take your phone on the ice with you, thankfully. But how do you assess, and you mentioned the fact that physically things haven't really changed. Well, our physical environment has changed because, yes, we're going through something we have never experienced in yours or my lifetime ever. So how do you, we assess it, we look at it, practice what you say, what you do, because that's how you're going to feel. How do you continue with that motion, considering that, yeah, camps are starting, hockey will return, sports will return, and being prepared so that you're ready for that first day, putting on your best foot forward, best skate forward?
Yeah. Well, just like any other time of the year, when you see that coming down the road, when training camp is coming, you want to start seeing yourself in those moments. So that's why mental rehearsals are so powerful in mental performance, because you're giving your brain kind of a blueprint of what you want to happen in the future. So you're going to training camp, and we want to be able to react with intention rather than react and just go there without any goals, without any intentions, without any perspectives on mindset. And if we just let the environment turn on all of our triggers, we're going to be lost and we're going to feel very anxious and confused. So we want to be able to show up at training camp with the right perspective. And what does that mean? So I work with 15-year-olds that are going to WHL camps. They're very good 15-year-old players, but they're not making that WHL team. But some 15-year-olds think that they could. Some 15-year-olds think that I'm going to this camp, but I don't know if I'm good enough because I'm playing against 20-year-olds and I'm only 5'6" and 145 pounds. Even though I'm talented, my body isn't there yet. So they could be scared. So if we can develop a mindset that, okay, this team wants you to come and show, they've drafted you, they want you to come and just showcase what you got. They just want to see that you're still on that trajectory that they know that you're on. They want to just see you play that game that you know how to play, whatever your skill set is. So as a player, if you can tell yourself that, okay, in a month, I'm going to be there. So what are my intentions? What's my goal? What do I want to accomplish? How am I going to handle all this mentally? Because I don't want to go there with any fear or anxiety or anything getting in my way. So first of all, the setting your intentions and your perspective of what are you going there to accomplish? Now, maybe you're a 17-year-old player and you're going to make that team. Then that's a different mindset. But you got to know what kind of mindset you want that match your intentions and then are aligned with your goals. So that's the first thing. And we want to be able to see that. So we want to be able to mentally rehearse, okay, I'm going to go to this camp. I'm going to see myself play my game. I'm a solid defenseman. Let's say I'm a 200-foot defenseman. I've been practicing all summer on seeing the ice better, walking the blue line, trying to find lanes, being poised with the puck. So I've been working on that. I'm going to take that to training camp. And then you want to start getting your mind and body aligned with it. So you want to see those pictures in your head. You want to feel what that performance feels like. You want to hear the sound. If you know what the rink looks like, now you can see the rink in your mind's eye. You're really front loading and telling your brain and giving your brain a blueprint of how you want to behave when you get there. And because you've done it in that fashion, when you get there, your brain goes, oh, we've already been at this camp, right? We've seen it already a few times. I know how to be, I know how to feel, I know what my goal is here. And then you have a lot more confidence to go and be your best.
So the mental practice, that mental rehearsal and front loading, putting your, making sure that you have a clear focus in mind. Explain to us front loading and the importance of that pushing you past your, it's not really pushing you past your comfort level because you're prepared. It's removing that anxiety. It's making sure that you're almost at a perfect state mentally, so that you're able to perform at your most optimal level.
That's right. So there's a lot of details. There's not only the details of your skill, there's not only the details of your position, there's also the details of high performance. So with my athletes, I talk about getting in the zone or finding your flow, getting in that flow state. Well, there's 6 major chemicals that you have that sports science has identified that when you're at your very best, there's these 6 major chemicals that are flowing through your bodies. And these chemicals are emotions, right? They're love, their trust, their confidence, their passion. There is a little bit of stressor there. You have to have a little bit of norepinephrine to keep that focus. So those are other things that you have to be able to make sure that you're dialed in on when you play, when you want to be your best. So knowing all of that, and I work with my athletes all the time to practice in the off season, hey, how are you going to automatically generate confidence, right? Your words create your emotions. So start thinking about times that you were confident. Think about games that you played really well, right? Like those are ways to build up the emotion in your body. So the athletes get used to doing this. Now, when they're putting that in a mental rehearsal, so now they're seeing themselves at this camp. Now they're reminding themselves of, how am I going to bring up that feeling of trust? What words have I already preset that I've already formed earlier and decided on earlier? What stories can I remind myself of to bring up that feeling of trust, of love, of passion, of seeing my best game? So they front load all of that. They also front load adversity. So what happens if you show up on the first day and you're a little flat? Let's talk about what you could say to yourself and how you could refocus before the time comes. So now there's no anxiety on it, right? If you and I are just having a conversation talking about 2 weeks from now, there's no pressure. You can go, well, if I have a bad day, I could reset. I'm going to follow my breath. I'm going to make sure that I do another mental rehearsal. I'm going to do some meditation. I'm going to make sure I'm hydrated. I'm going to sleep well. Like I'm going to make sure that I'm ready to go if that happens. But that's front loading. That's exactly what we're talking about. That is preparing your mind for all of the things that you're going to need to be when you're there. So there's a lot of work to do if you really think about it. Like, how am I going to play? How am I going to feel? What about these chemicals? Yada, 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 right? Like, and if you're just focused on that, trust me, man, there's enough of that to focus on. You don't have enough brain power to focus on all the problems, right? So just focus on what you can control and get that dialed in. Because when you do that and when you front load, now here's the last piece of it that I think is really important for everyone to understand. When you're front loading and you're doing it the right way, you're putting all that data at the unconscious level. Now, when athletes perform, they're performing from the unconscious level. They're in the moment. They're allowing the things that they've already programmed into their mind to come out. Good or bad, whatever's in there, it's coming out. They're not thinking about how to take a slap shot. They're not thinking about a route. They just know instinctively how to play. That's coming from the unconscious level. So if we can front load all of these details ahead of time in the unconscious level, when we're in that moment at camp, then you know exactly how everything that is triggered, you have an answer for. You've got a mindset for. You've got a plan for.
When you have that plan, Robert, and you see it come to action, like you said, it doesn't allow the negative to really creep in because there's no room for it. How do you continually try to, allow an athlete to unconsciously still prepare game in, practice in, game out, practice out with that mentality so that it becomes autonomic almost?
Well, it takes practice. It takes understanding, first of all, okay, for me to be at my best, I can't be overthinking, right? And we talk a lot about brainwaves in my coaching. There's 5 brainwave cycles. So as an athlete, when you're playing, when you're in the zone, sports science tells us that you need to be in that alpha state. You need to be calm. You need to be relaxed, because that also opens up the door to your unconscious mind, which allows those skills to come out. But if you're overthinking things, then that's too much beta waves. That's too much conscious brain thinking, analyzing, fussing over, which creates all of your anxiety. So you have to understand what frame of mind you need to be in to be at your best, and then practice getting into that state. And when you're playing, it's about being present. That's why you always hear, Theo, be present, focus on your breath, be in the now. Because if you're in the now, you're not using your conscious brain to overanalyze and think about all the storylines around you. You're allowing yourself to be in that alpha state where your unconscious brain can take over. And that's, again, really where all your skills are. That's where you're going to be at your best. So as an athlete, you got to be able to find that balance of what alpha brain feels like, what that flow state feels like, and then how to manufacture it when you need to bring it. And that can be very difficult. So it takes practice.
It's funny because this summer I've learned the phrase practice makes perfect, and I've switched it up to a phrase called practice makes permanent. And the reason why I say permanent is because if you practice mediocrity, guess what? You'll permanently be mediocre. And from a mental performance coaching standpoint, Robert, I'm sure you would agree that if you're able to focus on being that alpha mentally, you can be that alpha physically. And that percentage of that relationship, I got to ask you this question because you hear it all the time that sport is 90% mental or golf is 99% mental. It's all between the ears, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
From your aspect, Robert, is it really that much of it? Is it that much of an importance to be mentally focused before you can perform physically? Because I see it all the time when you hear about players having bad games, or they're just not, they got the yips on the greens, or they're just not making the completed passes. They're behind the receivers all the time. That's all a focus mentally. Like they physically have thrown 50,000 passes, practiced 1 million putts, taken and had about 3,000, 4,000 glove saves in their lifetime probably.
Yep.
But it really comes down to that mental focus at the current time.
And in that moment, that focus requires you to be present, and it also requires you to have the right chemicals in your body. It requires you to have that flow state, those flow state chemicals, right? You need to have that. Sports is a performance of anything is an emotional game. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor, your performance depends on how well you can control your emotions. If you're Blake Wheeler, it depends on how you can control your emotions. How do you get lit up before, like these NHL players, that's really, and they're pros for a reason, right? That's why it's so hard for them. That's why they're being given this challenge. Like, you're a pro, man. There's no fans in here, but we're asking you to be at your very best. They don't, like, what? Like, we don't have the energy from the crowd. Like, we have to manufacture that ourselves with our thoughts. Like, how the hell do you do that? Right? So it takes a good coaching staff to get that mindset. And how does that start? Well, words create emotions, right, Theo? So just keep it simple. What you think and what you say to yourself and the mindsets and perspectives that you hold are gonna make you feel equal to that. So if you want to be confident, you want to be focused, if you want to be invincible, think that way. And don't worry about what's happening. Get your mind into that belief mindset where you can accomplish anything, right? And it's not just about, oh, I believe in myself. It's about, well, we talked about the flow chemicals, right? But it's about being present. It's about putting it all together. I mean, that's what real focus is. And sports is an emotional game. So if you can't control your thoughts, you're not going to be able to control your emotions. So you got to practice controlling your thoughts. And that's a day-to-day exercise, just like going to the gym, just like doing squats and lunges and, you know, all of that. As an athlete, we gotta train our mind to get stronger and stronger at releasing all the storylines and all the thoughts that pop into our heads.
You're absolutely right, Robert. Maintaining that focus is, it is the only key you really have to have on your key ring. It's, you know, making sure that you're able to open that door in the present state and perform at your best, knowing that you're mentally, you know, in focus, in check. And
yeah.
I mean, you've probably watched some hockey games over the last couple of weeks in the bubble and some basketball games perhaps. And have you noticed a change in players and how they aren't feeding off the energy of the spectators, and how important it is you see the push in the game now in the situation that it's in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think once the players sort of get acclimated and get used to not having fans there, and the level of play gets up, and the meaning behind each series increases, that's going to come organically. But definitely, I have seen, talking with my hockey buddies, and I'm a big Jets fan, as are you.
Yeah.
Watching the game, and those home games, even though it was in Edmonton, we had that Ukrainian choir singing, right? You remember that?
Absolutely.
You've been at games when there's 16,000 people in that building, and that Ukrainian choir, the energy in that building is unreal. Like, it's emotional, right? Like, it's so powerful. So I texted one of my buddies the other day. I said, like, our building would be on fire right now if there was fans there, and this was a real home game. And maybe we would have won that game. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know if we would have, but you cannot tell me that wouldn't have affected the players in a positive way. 100%. 100%. But also, so I want to back up for a second, because you were talking about, it's really just about keeping our thoughts in check. But that can be hard too. So as simple as that sounds, it can be difficult, because if you are dealing with some past traumas and are really feeling at an unconscious level like you don't belong, or you're not good enough, or you're fearful of whatever it might be, your body, if it's feeling like that on a regular basis, your body creates thoughts that are equal to how you feel. So there's this cycle that goes on. So it's about understanding, okay, it's easy if I'm clean and I can think straight because I have nothing getting in my way, but it's really hard to think straight and have good perspectives when that feeling of I'm just not good enough, or I'm scared to go out there and really perform because I don't know what I can do, and I don't even want to try because maybe I'm going to fail. And I'm happy where I am right now, and I'm comfortable, and I'm okay being a third liner in this league, or whatever that case might be, right? So it's very hard for an athlete to keep it simple and to have that mindset where it's like, I can just control my thoughts that create my emotions. Well, sometimes your emotions are so strong in a negative way that they're creating your thoughts, and then you're in a rut. So there is that challenge, and that happens.
I make it
with a lot
sound
of people.
simple. I mean, that's the hard thing for me, is I make it sound simple, Robert, because you and I have talked many times about, I just say something, keep yourself in check, or keep your mentality in check.
Yeah.
We've talked about Frontload. We've talked about the importance of, taking those distractors away. And for younger kids, they think that there's something else there that's more important at the present time. Or like you said, it's how they're reviewed by their peers, fans, social media, whatever the case may be. Everything is so much more scrutinized than what it was back in the day. And I only say social media because we see it everywhere we go now. And whether we're walking down the street, whether we're going into a rink, whether we're at the gym, it's everywhere we go. People are checking in. People are taking washroom shots of themselves. And I love the birthday, or I love the birthday. I love the photo bombs of bathroom pics. Like, look at me at the gym. Great, awesome. You know what? That's one. I always make a comment. That's a wonderful, great-looking bathroom. Good for you. Awesome. If it's physically what you want to look like, great, awesome. But at the same point, I want someone who wants to perform on the ice. I want to perform on the ice. How do I do that better than somebody else? And I've spoken to a couple of guys last week that were who are obviously putting on hockey camps in August, because August is hockey camp week, as it's our hockey camp edition here on the ice. It's important to physically get yourself ready, but it's even more important to get yourself mentally ready.
Yeah, plan your mindsets, for sure. Plan all the mindsets of the next 3 or 4 months that you have coming up, with COVID, without COVID, whatever team you're going to be playing on. You're absolutely right. Now is the time. You're getting your body, your mind aligned. You're setting your perspectives. You're setting your intentions. You're making sure that you're clean mentally when you walk in, because, hey, you want to go and succeed. So get out of your own way, feel good, be happy, go out and let her rip, right?
Robert, great way to end it. I like that. I mean, let her rip, find your zen, find your zone, get yourself lit. Alignyourmind.ca on the bottom of the screen. Find Robert Broten, the founder, at BrainCoach204. Great to chat with you always, Robert. I mean, it's always refreshing. It's a reset button for myself as well. And, I hope to we hope to see hockey return on levels this fall. At some point, whether it be later or earlier, regardless. We just need to see live sports back in action soon. Thanks, Robert, for your time.
Thank you, Theo. Good talking to you, buddy.
Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
No, that was it. You said it all. Thanks
Great,
for
man.
having
I
me.
appreciate it. You're good. AlignYourMind.ca. Robert Broten, the founder.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. Again, check Coffee with Graham Tuesdays and Thursday mornings at 10:30. Again, on the ice Tuesdays and Thursdays. The Hockey Camp Edition, Week 2, with Align Your Mind's founder, Robert Broten. Thanks for joining us, and have a great rest of the day. Take care.